Welcome back, everyone. Gear One, your loyal captain Gear 100 has returned yet again for another video for you guys today, and y'all, it's finally time. We're ending off this Kanto series once and for all. I've had enough of it. It's unfinished business, and after a subscriber came back, screw it, Dragon Ball Kid, you know, you're out there. They told me that they've been with our crew since episode 1 of this entire series. So I felt like I just couldn't leave it undone. I was planning on leaving it undone and not coming back, but I was inspired to come back and just do it and just finish it off. So with that being said, it's time to end off this Kanto series. So with that being said, we're going through the Indigo League and the Elite Four battles. So buckle up, y'all. It's time for the Indigo League. So let's just pick up where we left off. So last time, I know I left off with Ash training his Pokemon for the Indigo League. And, well, oh my gosh. With all the Pokemon he's caught up to this point, and all the Pokemon I gave him up to this point, yeah, it's pretty insane. It's pretty insane. But it's also a very good thing as well. Because, well, he's got so many Pokemon now that he can bring with him into the league. So that means he's not limited on his options. I swear, guys, Ash's journey to become a Pokemon Master, I know the journey isn't to catch a lot of Pokemon on the way to make friends, but at the same time, you need like a good variety in your team, because you can't just have overwhelming overlapping typings and stuff. You need variety. That's why I gave him so much Pokemon throughout the entire series, because, well, if the man was able to catch 30 dang Tauros, you're gonna catch a lot more Pokemon than just your main 6. But then again, I get why they did that, because, well, it's just an overwhelming thing to do, just switch up your team every now and then. But still, I really wish they would have kept that at least, because it got pretty annoying that he just kept sticking with main 6. Oh, alright, but anyway, that's a different situation for now. So, while we got this to go, let's just continue where we left off. Ash and Mew and Mewtwo are busy training right now with the rest of the Pokemon, and I mean, everybody. The legends are training. Absolutely everyone. It doesn't matter what's going on. They're pushing themselves to their very limit. So, while this is happening, Mewtwo is talking to Ash with telepathy, asking when is the Indigo League supposed to happen. And Ash said, honestly, in like a few weeks. He's already registered his name. Now, whenever it starts, he just has to go there, and they'll be able to, well, make their appearance and win the whole thing. Mewtwo did ask when was Ash going to battle with him, and Ash honestly said he's planning on saving Mewtwo for the Elite Four. And Ash would explain that the Elite Four are the top 4 strongest trainers in the entire Kanto region. And Mewtwo honestly thinks that's a good idea, but he wants to be used in the tournament though. Ash can tell that he does, but he promises Mewtwo that he will not be disappointed. But honestly, he does want to use more of his regular Pokemon, because they haven't gotten as much in the spotlight as they usually would. But some Mewtwo can agree with that. But anyway, you know what? It's time. A few weeks go by, and it's time for Ash to register. His Pokemon are just straight up overpowered here. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. His Pokemon are OP, and they're just ready to start They're ready to start knocking you out bit by bit. So, time for the first bout. Let's do this. Alright, y'all, we finally here with this. Ash already brought his crazy, amazing team to the Indigo League. And you should already know Delia, Professor Oak, Red, and Blue, and, Ash. We don't even know who Blue's mom is, so we're just going to say Blue's mom as well. Wait, so yeah, are all there to watch both of their to watch the kids and enter the league, because crazy enough, this is going to be strange, guys. We don't even need to go through this. Gary obviously plows through his competition, and I know the battles that Ash is obviously going to have here, but to be honest, do we really need to go through that here? Nah, because, well, we only need to go through the important stuff. Ash obviously wins his first 2 matches, but next comes up an opponent he wasn't expecting to see for a very long time, actually. And here we go. Boop! Alright, guys. Richie. And keep in mind, Ash hasn't seen Richie in such a long time. It feels like it has been a long while. And Richie does say it has been a while, but they knew eventually he would meet. He knew that eventually he would meet Ash up in the Indigo League. It's inevitable. Yep. But Ash just says only one of them can walk out of this the winner and go to the finals. Ash obviously had his first two opponents, and Richie is the semifinals. And so if he makes it, past Richie, he makes it into the finals. I know you guys would have wanted to see Ash's first two people, but they were just basically fodder. This is the more important one. Because in the canon story, Ash lost to Richie because he was an incompetent trainer. Which, I don't understand why he lost to Richie. I mean, he had other Pokemon besides freaking Charizard to throw out. That would have been... Obviously, Charizard is his strongest, but he had Tauros and other Pokemon at this point. He didn't necessarily have to use Charizard. But then again, limited on options. This is why, in my opinion, Ash should have caught... You should catch more Pokemon, just in case BS like that can easily go down. But anyway, with this being said... Oh yeah, since Red disbanded Team Rocket, there was no Jesse and James interference all this time. So Ash was able to make it there on time to the match. And obviously... things are going to be going much differently in the story than it usually would. So, oh yeah, also the main 16 that you see above is not what Ash is going to be using against Richie here. He's going to be using that team against, you know, his finalist. So, anyway, they both have, okay, yeah, it's a 3-on-3, and only the finals get to have the full 6-on-6. Alright, cool, perfect, I got it. Alright. So 3-on-3 match here. They both get their Pokeballs ready, and here we go. Richie sends out his. All right. So hold on. Who is Ash going to throw out first? You know what? Screw it. Yeah. He brings out a Pokeball and yells, "Flareon, I choose you!" And Richie just says, "Butterfree, I choose you!" And oh boy, here we go. So they both send out their Pokemon, and first bout's up. Ash might actually have some... Ash is thinking, okay, Ash knows he has to pace himself if he wants to win this fight here. But Richie is dead set nervous because, oh man, this is actually going to be very scary. Yeah, I know it was a full 3-on-3 team, but Ash is not taking any stops here. Richie is actually very scared here because he knows Ash is the son of the world's strongest trainer and champion to ever live. So he knows he can't play around here. But don't think Richie is a pushover. He's actually super strong. Alright, here we go. Even though he sent out a Butterfree, it's still, you know, in the canon story. So Richie immediately calls for Butterfree to use Sleep Powder, but Ash isn't falling for that. He tells Flareon to go to straight use... This is going to be crazy. He calls for Flareon to use a Fire Blast right off rip. And Flareon powers up its mane and its tail, even engulfing them in flames, and shooting out a huge burst of fire. The Fire Blast is so intense, it completely incinerates the Sleep Powder. Richie then calls for a Silver Wind to try to blow it away. But even the wind is not strong enough to dismember the fire. As Butterfree gets hit with Fire Blast, it gets knocked down. Like, oh no, Butterfree! And Ash immediately calls for a Quick Attack. And right as Butterfree hits the ground, Flareon blitzes at Butterfree, hitting it dead on with this Quick Attack. And Ash, knowing that this is the end, says sorry to Richie, but he has to. But this ends right here, as now he calls for one final Fire Blast, and boom, Fire Blast hits again, and Butterfree has been knocked down, completely dead set out. Like, oh man, yeah, just like that. Ash is on a completely different level, because like I said, he trained for months on end, and for the few weeks that's been following up. And I mean, every single one of his Pokemon got that training, not just the strong ones. So as Richie calls back his Pokemon, Ash does the same thing. Like I said, he wants his Pokemon to pace themselves right now. So okay, now Richie would have to call for his strongest Pokemon, which is Not strongest. Richie would call for his second strongest, which would be Sparky, his Pikachu. And okay, in response to this, oh man, I feel so bad for doing this to Richie. But then again, Ash did not come to play. He threw out, Rhydon, I choose you. Yeah, Richie is in no way like ready for fights like this, because when Richie's Pikachu Sparky hit the battlefield and Ash threw out a freaking Rhydon, bruh, Richie's looking like, are you kidding me right now? Ash says apologize to Richie for this here, but like, you know, Richie is on the verge of just, you know, surrendering, because there's just no way. But Ash calls to Richie and says he's a Pokemon trainer, and Pokemon trainers don't give up. If he wants to be a Pokemon master too, then catch more Pokemon, gain more experience. It's not like, and also fight till the very end. And Richie, on having a new wave of inspiration, calls to Sparky and asks him if he's ready for this fight. And Sparky, on the other hand, looking at its trainer, determined, is also determined. Smacks its cheeks, and electricity comes off of them. Obviously, it's not going to work. But Richie has to come up with a plan so diabolical that it just has to work. Thankfully, hopefully this here can work. Immediately, Richie calls for Pikachu to use Quick Attack to circle around Rhydon as fast as possible. And Sparky immediately just starts blitzing around Rhydon. And Ash, knowing that there's strategies like this, he's not dumb at all. He immediately calls for Rhydon to use an Earthquake. And knowing that Pikachu isn't exactly a flying type, just one stomp on the ground immediately calls for Sparky to be immediately hurt by it. And there, Ash can already see it. And already, Ash calls for a drill run, and Rhydon's horn on its head starts to spin like a drill, and it rushes at Pikachu, hitting it dead on with drill run, landing a critical hit. And finally, Ash has no choice but to hit Pikachu with an Iron Tail. And immediately, Rhydon does a front flip, and boom, hits Pikachu back over to where Richie is, and it's been knocked out. Sparky is got completely demolished by Rhydon. As Richie picks up Sparky and puts him back onto the battlefield. Ugh. Richie has no choice. Even though this Pokemon here is his strongest, he hasn't really gotten much experience with it. But he has no choice here. If he wants to win, either go big or go home. As Ash calls back, you know, his Pokemon. Okay, this is going to be, oh yeah. Well, Ash already had this Pokemon in mind. He said he's going to throw out his last Pokemon first. And as Ash does, he pulls back Rhydon and he throws out, Raichu, I choose you! Because remember, Ash doesn't have a partner Pikachu in this one. So, or you know what? Actually, he does. So you know what? He's going to throw out the partner Pikachu cap. Alright, Pikachu, I choose you! As he throws it out of the Pokeball. Let's go. Charizard, I choose you! As Richie throws out his Charizard. It's a regular Charizard, it's not really shiny. I'm just using stuff that I got in my repertoire. So, Richie's Charizard, it's now hit the battlefield. And Richie's Charizard, okay. Crazy enough, okay, I'm not giving Richie the Charizard like Ash. Richie's Charizard does listen to him, but it just recently evolved into a Charizard, so it hasn't fully mastered all of its moves yet. And by how long ago? I'm gonna say it was 3 days ago, actually. So, yeah, very new. So, Richie calls to Charizard and asks if it's ready for this fight, as Charizard roars, and Ash just calls to his Pikachu, because, oh boy, here we go. So, let's begin. Ash calls towards Pikachu and tells it to use Thunderbolt. And immediately, Pikachu jumps into the air and shoots off a very powerful Thunderbolt. Yeah, a very powerful Thunderbolt. And immediately, Richie tells Charizard to use Flamethrower. And as the two attacks clash, a giant explosion happens, and immediately it's gone. But then Ash's Pikachu is much quicker as Ash calls for Pikachu and tells it to immediately use, guys, here it comes, to use Surf. Wait, what? And everyone's surprised because a Pikachu can't learn Surf. Or can it? Because right when this stuff happens, Pikachu jumps into the air, and immediately as it hits the battlefield, water comes from out of nowhere and completely engulfs the whole battlefield. Charizard is dead on hit with the water, and Ash now calls it to use Thunderbolt. 2 super effective hits massively done to it. Richie has no choice but to call for its powerful attack. Even though Charizard can't control this move, he has no choice. Richie calls and yells Charizard to finish Pikachu with a Flare Blitz. Charizard igniting itself on fire and immediately rushing at Pikachu with all the power it has. Ash was waiting for this, and he tells Pikachu to use Volt Tackle. Like, what? And Red smiles as immediately Pikachu runs towards Charizard, building up electricity. As out of nowhere, sparks of electricity fly everywhere as Pikachu is using Volt Tackle. And finally, the 2 attacks collide. Richie's Charizard is pushing all of the power it has, and Ash's Pikachu is standing its ground. Richie's calling toward his Charizard to keep going, that he believes in it. As Charizard tries and pushes Pikachu back just a little bit, but the thing is, Ash and Pikachu have been holding back. And Ash just says, Pikachu, full power! As Pikachu now, it ignites its full electricity as sparks go flying off everywhere. And just as though it seemed Richie's Charizard was winning the exchange, immediately Pikachu moves forward and Charizard, feet in the ground, moves back. As Pikachu goes more, and more until Charizard's completely overpowered and has been struck with the Volt Tackle, being hit with super effective damage, causing Charizard to be knocked out. And that's it. Ash has won the semifinals. Now he moves on into the final bout. Here we go, everyone. Richie is upset that he lost, but he knew this could have been the outcome here. But hey, Ash just said don't be deterred, because he'll win it for Richie. He's got to. As now, Ash has no choice but to move on into the finals, where he knows who's waiting for him there. And I'm pretty sure you guys can tell too. But enough sugarcoating, let's get down to it. Woo! Oh, here we are. Gary and Ash meet each other at the finals. And guys, tensions are at an all-time high here. Both trainers, not one backing down. They know exactly what's about to happen here. Only one of them can walk out with the trophy with the trophy, and only one has the right to challenge the Pokemon League. They're both a bit nervous here, but at the same time, as Ash would look up, he would see red, and as Ash would look up, he would see blue. Hold on, let me, do this real quick to make it more dramatic. Two young trainers, both the descendants of 2 amazing world trainers, world champions, but only one of them can walk out of this with the true victory. They both look up at their fathers. Red looks at Ash with utmost determination, being so proud that he came this far, and Blue looking at Gary with the same look. As Gary and Ash both look back down at each other, a raging inferno in both of their eyes. They did not come to lose. They won't lose. They will not lose. As Ash and Gary both hold their Pokeballs up in front of them, they look at each other. No words are being said here. They're taking this 100% serious. As they wind back their Pokeballs, they're getting ready. And they don't even call out their Pokemon who they're throwing out. Just getting thrown out. Let's begin. This moment here, changes everything for Ash. As they both throw out their Pokemon, the battle is set to begin. A full 6-on-6. But something in Ash changes that day. Changed in that moment. Looking at his father, Ash could feel his heartbeat. No, he could hear it in his own ears. As he even felt Venusaur. Their hearts beating as one. As now, when Ash looked up, he put his hand over his hat, onto the tip of his hat. And he slides his finger across it, looking at Gary with a whole different demeanor. As Gary kind of gets unnerved by it, but then he steals his nerves once again. As the battle is called to begin, Gary immediately calls for for a horn drill, and Ash, not even saying anything, as literally Rhydon is rushing at Venusaur. People are like yelling at Ash to call for a move, to do something, say anything. But Venusaur can feel it. As immediately when that moment when Rhydon comes in, Venusaur, oh my gosh, whips come out of its grass vines come out of its body. As immediately it smacks Rhydon across the face and then hits it in the body. That was Power Whip. What the? And immediately when Rhydon gets hit back, Venusaur uses Nature Power, and immediately an Earth Power gets used right on Rhydon as it gets hit for more super effective damage. As Gary has to do something, he calls for an Earthquake, and immediately it does hit Venusaur, but Venusaur stands its ground. As Ash immediately calls, oh my gosh, for a hold on, what's it called again? Oh yeah, wait, no, Ash doesn't call for it. Venusaur stands its ground as it gets into a stance and powers up its laser. Blue knows what's coming. It's Solar Beam. Blue has no choice but to tell Rhydon to use Thunderbolt to try to paralyze it. And it does hit Venusaur for not very effective damage. And thankfully, it does paralyze Venusaur. But Ash looks at Blue. I mean, wait, no. Yeah, Ash looks at Gary with his eyes so determined. And so does Venusaur, to where the paralysis just blips away. What? What's going on? As immediately Venusaur fires its Solar Beam, and Rhydon can't do anything. Blue immediately calls for a horn drill. It has to one-hit KO Venusaur right now. And immediately Rhydon spins its horn and charges at Venusaur, trying to drill through the laser. As Ash keeps looking at Venusaur and stretches out his arm. As he opens his hand, Venusaur puts more power into the laser, as Rhydon can't even take it anymore, as it tries to go for more and more, but then again, its horn cracked. Rhydon, feeling its horn cracked, is in pain, as then, it can't, being unable to plow through the attack anymore, it takes the Solar Beam head on, getting knocked out in the process. As immediately, Blue would recall Rhydon and send in his next Pokemon. Arcanine has hit the battlefield now. Now, Ash knows that Venusaur can't really take on a full-fledged Arcanine, but he can do one thing. As Ash looks at Venusaur, and immediately, as Arcanine comes in for extreme speed, Venusaur waits for it, and the moment Arcanine hits its body, Venusaur shoots a Sludge Bomb straight at Arcanine's face, causing it to actually get poisoned. And Ash now uses Nature Power after Nature Power, getting Earth Power after Earth Power, in order to get some chip damage on Arcanine. But Blue immediately calls for a Fire Blast, hitting Venusaur dead on, which sadly causes Venusaur to get knocked out because it used too much of its energy. As Ash recalls Venusaur and places the Pokeball up to its head, thanking Venusaur for its valiant effort. But this battle isn't over yet. No, it's far from it. As Ash holds out his next Pokeball, he throws out Blastoise as the oncoming moves are ready to be unleashed. Woo! This is going to get intense as as Gary immediately calls for an extreme speed once again, but Ash knows. Looking at Blastoise uses Surf, and immediately water goes everywhere. Arcanine can't possibly dodge it, but Gary tells Arcanine to jump over it, and it does. And that's what Ash was waiting for. As he points towards Arcanine, Blastoise fires off a Hydro Pump directly into Arcanine, causing massive damage. And then Ash was not done yet. He needed to capitalize on damage as quick as possible, but still, he needed to build his defense as Blastoise tucked its head in, getting ready for a Skull Bash. And immediately, when Arcanine gets back up, Gary calls for a Wild Charge. Has to get off, for a Thunder Fang. Yeah, Thunder Fang. And immediately, when as Arcanine comes at and bites Blastoise on the shell, it does some damage because it's super effective, but since it couldn't bite Blastoise directly, it couldn't actually get as much damage as it wanted to. But then Blastoise pops out and headbutts Arcanine square in its face because, Skull Bash. And its defense increased even more. Like, oh wow, this was intense. And Arcanine was winded and actually had dizzy vision from that. But then Ash calls for Blastoise to use Mega Kick. And immediately Blastoise comes rushing at Arcanine with its foot in the air. Immediately, Gary calls for another Thunder Fang to bite Blastoise's leg. And the two attacks are ready to collide with one another. As Arcanine does catch Blastoise's leg in its mouth, causing the electricity to circle through Blastoise. But Blastoise is just way too durable. And because Skull Bash does increase your defense, Blastoise is able to tank the attack a lot easier and bring its foot down, like, even though Arcanine's holding on to it, kicking the ground and Arcanine in the jaw with it. And immediately Ash tells Blastoise to use Hydro Pump once again. And immediately, point blank, Hydro Pump gets blasted straight into Arcanine, causing Arcanine to hit the ground hard. And to make sure, Ash immediately goes back to his quiet demeanor. And immediately, Blastoise tucks its head back in, as Gary would call for a Flare Blitz. And immediately, boom, Flare Blitz would hit Blastoise's shell, causing it to singe some of its shell. But since it was in there, it was protected. And immediately, Blastoise would pop out and headbutt Arcanine yet again square on the skull, causing it to be knocked out. 2 Pokemon already down. That's not good. Fine. This next one will do it justice, though. Gary sends out Pidgeot. Oh my gosh. And Ash was waiting for this, as immediately he points at Pidgeot and Blastoise fires off an Ice Beam. Wait, did I already? Oh wait, yeah, I already. Screw it, it doesn't really matter because Pokemon moves don't really matter at this point. They didn't change it to like 4 until like very late in the game, because early on you can still use any move that you want. Blastoise fires off an Ice Beam, but Pidgeot is like extremely fast. And immediately Gary calls for a Drill Peck, and immediately hitting Blastoise on top of the head with its Drill Peck. But it's not done yet, as Gary calls for a Sky Attack, causing Pidgeot to fly high in the air and come down with very powerful force. Ash pointed at Pidgeot yet again, and Blastoise fired off another Ice Beam. Pidgeot dove straight into the Ice Beam, flying through it and hitting Blastoise with major damage. But Gary had to finish it off. He called for a Steel Wing, and immediately Pidgeot brought its wing down upon Blastoise's head once more, almost like a karate chop fashion. Blastoise was knocked unconscious because of this, causing it to be knocked out. Very strong. As Ash recalls Blastoise, thanking it for its effort. But now, this match here has just gotten even spicier, as Ash is now ready to throw out his next Pokemon. As he throws out... Alright, here we go. Immediately throwing out his Dragonite. And Blue was surprised to see Ash had a Dragonite. Because, well, Dragon types are actually pretty rare. Like, oh man, what's he supposed to do now? But Blue is not one to give up. Oh, wait, no. Gary, I said Gary. My God. I'm sorry, guys. I'm kind of getting mixed up in the drama right here. Gary's surprised to see that he has a Dragonite, because that's pretty rare. But, hey, Gary is not going to back down from this. As now, but, hey, Ash has a lot more power in store than you may think with Dragonite. There's a reason Dragonite is on his main team now for Kanto. And Gary's about to see why. As immediately, Gary calls for Pidgeot to use Heat Wave. And by flapping its wings, like, great heat comes at Dragonite. But Dragonite has the multi-scale ability. So, yeah, this is about to be... Oh, this is about to get so bad. Dragonite barely takes damage, puts up its guard, and barely takes damage at all from that move. What? As now, Ash immediately calls for Dragonite to use Ice Beam. Wait, what? And immediately Dragonite fires off an Ice Beam, and it hits Pidgeot dead. Like, oh no! And, but Ash is not done yet, because right as this happens, Ash immediately calls for a Thunder Punch, and its arm being brought back as Dragonite flies over to Pidgeot and hits it square in the face with the Thunder Punch. Like, oh no, Pidgeot! And finally, Ash calls for a Fire Blast, and Dragonite shoots off a Fire Blast so powerful, it almost engulfs that entire side. It engulfs Pidgeot fully, sending Pidgeot flying down to the ground, and Gary has no choice but to recall it, as Pidgeot has been knocked out. Ash is very strong. Very, very strong. Like, Gary needs to do something about this Dragonite, because no doubt about it, Dragonite is definitely going to cause problems. Okay. Gary thinks to himself, think, what can I do? And then if the idea finally hits him, okay, maybe this just might work, but hey, it's all or nothing. As Gary throws out his next Pokemon, Gary threw out his own Dragonite. And everyone was surprised to see this. A Dragonite v Dragonite battle? Now here, like, is where Gary tells Ash. He was surprised initially to see that Ash had a Dragonite, because, of course, they are rare. Like, Dragon types are actually pretty rare in Kanto, because they only have one. But that doesn't mean it's impossible to get one. The two Dragonites look at each other. One shiny and one not shiny. Just imagine, you know, Gary's isn't, because I don't really want to go get a non-shiny one, just for the sake of a video. The two dragons look at each other, and the dragon rivalry is going down. Ash's Dragonite, oh god, is a male, obviously, but Gary's is female. So this is about to go to war here. But they're not afraid, as the Dragonite v Dragonite battle begins now. Because off rip, Ash immediately tries to use Ice Beam, but Gary's is using Blizzard. The two attacks clash. Fire Blast met by Flamethrower, and Thunder Punch met by Thunderbolt. Now, this is insane enough. The two attacks keep clashing, and these Dragonites almost look like they're dead even. But then it all comes down to their final move. Ash has no choice. If he wants to win, even though this will cost him major backlash afterwards, he has to do it. He immediately calls for Dragonite and tells it to use Outrage. And immediately Dragonite's eyes become a crimson red as it starts raging out and soaring at Gary's Dragonite. But Gary's Dragonite isn't going down without a fight, as Gary calls for Dragon Rush. As immediately the two dragons rush at each other and the two attacks collide, not one giving an inch to the other. This is actually very crazy. The two dragons are going head to head in a clash. This is absolutely nuts. No side is giving each like a benefit here, because this is Gary's fourth Pokemon, I think. Yeah, because Rhydon, Arcanine, and Pidgeot. This is his fourth, while Ash is just now using his third. So Ash has to definitely, like, you know, catch up here and capitalize if he wants to win here. But this is very hard on its own. Ash is like, Gary is hoping and praying that this can win here. Like, come on. And once it's all said and done, like Ash's Dragonite gets confused because of the fatigue of it, and Gary uses one final Dragon Rush. But Ash isn't done yet because Ash tells Dragonite to use Outrage again, even though it's already confused. But Dragonite broke through the confusion just once because when Gary's Dragonite hit it with Dragon Rush, Ash's Dragonite uppercuts it with its own Outrage at full power with the last of its strength, as both dragons fall completely defeated. Now that was an intense battle. No side gave either a chance to win, but since a winner couldn't be decided, they just both fell in defeat. Gary has 2 Pokemon left, while Ash still has 3. He has to capitalize on this. He's hoping Ash throws out one of his better Pokemon so he can start gaining his footing back, because now he's on the more losing side. As now Ash throws out his most durable and tankiest Pokemon before the true powerhouses come out. As Ash threw out a Snorlax. Oh, here we go. Gary's actually pretty happy because now he can at least try to get his footing back. At least try to somewhat win here. Because now he's going to throw out a Pokemon even rarer than Dragonite. As Gary throws out a Ditto. And a Ditto's very interesting because right off rip, it transforms into its own Snorlax. Here we go, a Snorlax v Snorlax battle. Ash was very interested to know that Gary had a Ditto. Now that is a very interesting Pokemon and a very lifesaver if you know how to use one. Gary just smirks and says, "Now what Ash can do, he can do also." Maybe, but he may be able to copy Snorlax's moves, but all the experience, the stats that it gained, Gary cannot copy that. As immediately Ash tells for Snorlax to go and use oh, hold on, I'm trying to think. Let me think of its moves real quick, guys. Yeah. I don't know, guys. I can't think right off the bat, but still, moving on. Ash immediately tells Snorlax to go and use Ice Punch, and immediately Snorlax winds back its fist. Gary immediately calls for his Ditto to use the same move. And as the 2 punches collide, it's pretty clear Ash's Snorlax has an overwhelming power advantage, because it immediately overtakes Ditto and punches Ditto square in the face, causing Ditto to be frozen. Like, what? And Ash just said, "Told you." Now, hold on, dang. Sorry guys, it's hard for me to think right now off rip. Hold on, I'm trying to think. Why is it so difficult? Oh yeah, I got it. Okay, so Ash immediately calls for a high horsepower, and immediately Snorlax turns right around and kicks like Ditto square in the gut with it still being frozen. And Ash is going to capitalize on this, using body slam after body slam, causing massive damage. And finally, like Gary's Ditto thaws out, and immediately Gary calls for a Giga Impact, as now it's coming at him. And it does hit Ash's Snorlax for massive damage, but now Gary's Ditto can't move. And Ash just said, "It's time to end this. Now, Snorlax, go and use..." Hold on, I'm trying to think. Ooh, I got it. This is gonna be fun, guys. Just go with me on this one. Go and use Fissure. Now, I know what you guys are saying, but Snorlax can't learn Fissure. Well, back in Gen 1, it actually could in the Game Boy games. So with that being said, Snorlax runs up to Ditto and punches it square, and palms it square in the chest, causing like massive earthquakes to happen. It shook the entire stadium, causing Ditto to fall back and change back into a Ditto, with it losing the fight. Ash's Snorlax is actually very tired from all that fighting, because having to fight itself and chip away a lot of damage like that, yeah, guys, it's definitely going to capitalize on a person. But it's not done yet, because Gary still has his strongest Pokemon left. And you guys already know who that's going to be, as he throws out Blastoise. As Blastoise comes out, This is Gary Snorlax that was, bred from Blue Snorlax. So it's 6 perfect IVs, 6 perfect EVs, and the perfect nature for it. So immediately, Gary calls for one singular Hydro Pump, and immediately hitting Blastoise dead on. Wait, no, yeah, and immediately hitting Snorlax dead on. Snorlax was actually, like, very winded from that attack. And Ash immediately wants to call for its next move. Like, it calls for a Fissure to try to OHKO Blastoise, but nope. Because immediately Blastoise tucked its head in for a Skull Bash, and Snorlax missed the Fissure, and hitting Snorlax with its Skull Bash ends up knocking out Snorlax. I know Ash's Snorlax is usually a tank and everything, but Snorlax used a lot of its energy to actually take out Ditto. Because remember, it copied, Ash's, moveset, but also its HP, which is very, very high. So, yeah, Snorlax was pretty winded and exhausted. So that's why, it ended up losing. But finally, the finals can continue. Ash has 2 Pokemon while Gary still has 1. And Gary knows what Ash is going to throw out. Here it comes. Like, Ash grabs onto his hat as he holds the Pokeball up. And he throws out his final Pokemon. As Charizard hits the field. A giant, like, fire dragon. Nah, are you kidding me right now? Like, Blue is even looking on in astonishment. What is he looking at? Because remember, this is also shiny. I couldn't, get any shiny colors for it, guys, off the rip. But just imagine it's like a shiny Charizard. A black and red fire dragon has just hit the battlefield. Because remember, this is like an ancient Charizard back from like the old times. So it's not fire flying. It's fire dragon. Oh, crap. This is bad. So, yeah, sorry, Blue. You're about to get demolished right now. Blue's still not giving up, because at this point, he could care a whole lot less, because he's not going to lose. He refuses to lose, as immediately he yanks his necklace off his neck, and he shows Ash his full power, as immediately he grips the stone and calls for his Blastoise to Mega Evolve. Red looks on in shock because he thought they weren't going to introduce their sons to Mega Evolution yet. But Blue would just say something like, I never agreed to that. And here we go. Ash is happy that Gary has Mega Evolution. Gary screams that he will not lose here. He refuses to. And now it's time to make true on his promise. As immediately Ash has no choice but to go full power. As he tells Charizard to show off every ounce of power it has. As Charizard smacks its tail on the ground and engulfs itself with flames. Its wings actually catching on fire. And its whole body lighting up like a volcano. As its ancient berserker starts to take over. Crap. Here it is. Blue calls for a Dragon Pulse at full power as Blastoise fires it off. And the only thing Ash can do is fire off a dragon energy at full strength. Wait, no. Is that what I'm thinking? Yeah. Sadly, guys, Ash fires off a dragon energy. And once he does, the two attacks collide. But the embodiment of an actual dragon hits Blastoise for super effective damage. And because this is, this Charizard is ancient, Ash calls for a Dragon Ascent. And Charizard takes to the skies, flying up super high. As now, it comes back down with the embodiment of an actual dragon. Blue refuses to give up, as he calls for Blastoise to use Hydro Cannon. As Blastoise fires a whole bunch of water into the sky with its best. Charizard clashing with the water. Ash holding on to his hat once more gives Charizard the red look, and Charizard powers through the water, hitting Blastoise dead on, causing Blastoise to be in critical damage. But no, Blue still refuses to give up. He tells for Blastoise to use Dragon Pulse at full power with everything it has left. and Ash has no choice. He tells Blue that this was extremely fun, but he has to put an end to it. As now, he calls for, Charizard to use Sacred Flame. And as it does, it fires off a rainbow fire, hitting dead on with the Dragon Pulse. Sadly, hitting Blastoise, causing it to be knocked out. Dang it. And Ash winning the tournament. I know you guys like, and Ash is now the champion. He now has the right to challenge the Pokemon League. With Blue, Gary lost, recalling Blastoise and actually crying, saying he really thought he could do this. He really thought he could win. But Ash's overwhelming strength is just too much. But Ash comes up to Gary and picks him up. And he gives him a hug, thanking Gary for an amazing battle. He couldn't have wanted it any other way. Gary, hugging Ash back and still crying into his shoulder, does go back. And Blue's there waiting for him. And Blue comes over to Gary and pats him on the shoulder. I'm proud of you. As he still cries and hugs his dad, as Blue hugs back, consoling Gary. As Ash being crowned the champion of the Indigo League, now is being asked the big question. Is he ready for the Pokemon League Challenge? Yes, he is. Time for the Elite Four. Keep in mind, there's no champion here. Lance is the champion still. Because Red and Blue stepped down from that a long time ago. So, okay, I'm gonna save that part for next time, guys. I know I said I wanted to get rid of it, but yeah. The next part is where we're gonna do the Elite Four. So, what is this, like part 8, part 9? Whatever part this is, whatever it is. I hope you guys enjoyed this part, and if you guys did, leave some likes and comments and comment down below. I'm gonna be doing a live stream later on today at like 6, I think, for a game I'm going to be playing. So hope you guys do come back around later on for that. And if you guys enjoyed, y'all know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment down below. Peace, guys.